We were two lost teenagers who didn't fit in anywhere. No direction, no plan to do anything, just a desperate need to prove to the world and show it what we were capable of. Now fast forward 3 years, we're standing in front of 60 creators and entrepreneurs, running a business that we built from literally nothing. So get some snacks and a drink, because this is the story of how two complete strangers met in Marbella, combined opposite skill sets, and built a company that's on a mission to help the outsiders. Oh, and you can subscribe and like, you know that.
And meeting strangers who were doing the same kind of thing to me really is what changed my life, and I know Richard would say the same as well. So we kind of just want to talk about our story, our journey of how we even met and how we started our business Timeless, what we're doing now to build the brand and where we want to get to, and then maybe even bring one of you guys up here as well to
Well, that's a surprise, don't tell.
oh yeah, that was
Don't tell that.
I'll save that one. But yeah, Richard, do you want to kind of talk about your journey a little bit of?
Remember, you were supposed to ask me a question, and I it's natural.
Okay. So Richard, what was your journey before we met?
Yeah. So my journey. Where did I come from? How am I here? I kind of look back at my journey very differently now that it's been about 3 years since I've been on online business, trying all these crazy different things. And I used to say that, I was this kid who wanted to make money, retire his mum and all these different things. And over the past, I guess, 3 months, I've realized that story is a bit different in my head now. That story was about a young, unconfident kid who didn't believe in himself and was too scared and shy to share his opinion. Now that kid is not here anymore, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this, right? But basically he felt different. He felt like no one else respected him. He felt like an outsider. And he kind of, I remember, I'm saying he, but it's really me. I remember as I went through school, I was getting pushed to the sidelines and I didn't feel like I fit in. And that's why I didn't take the traditional path. I didn't go to university. I thought, you know what, Mum? I'm going to drop out and try something online. And she was like, no. In a Russian accent, I would do it, but I'm not going to make fun of my mum. And I dropped out and I just pursued online business. I tried dropshipping, SMMA, trading. I tried all these different business models until I finally ended up here. But I don't want to take the time away from Zach's story. Zach will get into that and then we'll speak about how we met.
Yeah, so very much a similar story to Richard, but obviously just different things happening. So I was also that kid who never really fit into a friend group. I was just kind of doing stupid stuff from a young age with people that weren't really my friends. I had a lot of kind of fake friends that sort of, I just didn't really feel like I identified in any kind of group, which is why I just felt so lost and confused as a kid. And I remember like at 16, just when I was about to do my GCSEs, everyone was then talking about going to uni and getting a job. And I then started thinking to myself, I've not even thought about my future at this point. Like, maybe some of you in here kind of had an idea of what you wanted your future to look like. I didn't even know what I wanted my future to look like. And because I was this vulnerable kid who was so lost and didn't have this direction, that was at the same time where I started seeing the Andrew Tates, the Iman Gadzis, the Jordan Welches, talking about escaping the matrix and making all of this online money. And obviously, me being the vulnerable kid that I was, that message appealed to me. So at 16, after I finished my GCSEs, joined Andrew Tate's real world course. And that's when I kind of first got my taste of like online business. I started copywriting, and yeah, I was doing some copywriting and made about £700 in like 2 years. And yeah, it was pretty brutal. I was completely fucking up my exams as well. And I was kind of in this predicament after I finished sixth form where it was like, do I have to go and get a university degree or get a job now? Or am I actually going to try and make this work even though I've got no proof that I've made it work? So I told myself I was going to do a gap year. That's what I told my parents anyway, hoping it would turn into a gap life. And that's kind of what it has ended out to be. I kind of left the copywriting and I got more of a remote sales role inside of an online business, which is where I started to actually improve my skill set a little bit more. And then within that remote sales role, I started to make good money. I was in around £5-6 grand a month, which is like the dream for me, right? That was like so much money to me at the time, and that's kind of what I dreamt of when I was this lost kid in sixth form. And for around the end of that 6 months, I was now in that position that I wanted to be 2 years ago, but I didn't have this purpose because I was still working for someone else. I didn't have that freedom that I initially wanted to, so my motivations then started to change away from making more money and actually having more purpose and more of my own freedom, which I think is a bit of a good time to transition into the story of how we met. 'Cause it's around a similar sort of time period.
It is, yeah. We put ourselves out there, as Zach said at the start, and by posting content, we started to meet other people. You know, one comment turned into a conversation turned into a Google Meet call, and from there, obviously progressed up, and eventually we ended up in Marbella. What a random place for 8 creative entrepreneurs to go to. You would expect them not to be partying. We didn't party at all. We tried one night, but it didn't work. And yeah, we met out in Marbella, and I think this leads me on to my first point. Me and Zach are completely opposite yet so similar. He comes from a sales background, that kind of side of things, and I come from a creative background. And that's where we met and thought, you know what? After Marbella, we were chatting. We was like, I'm gonna help you with content. You help me with sales. Let's just kind of hop on a call. Where do we end up? We just hopped on that call.
Yeah.
We hopped on a call, pulled up a Notion document, and we was like, what if we just combined our skills together? What if we just did that?
Yeah.
We don't have to partner up. Let's just see what comes out of it. Boom. One thing led to another, and all of a sudden we're business partners. I'm stuck with him for the next 9 months of my life.
Yeah.
But from there, that changed everything for both of us because we were lacking opposite things. I was lacking the confidence to sell because I thought selling was a bad thing at the time. And Zach was lacking the creativity behind things, the purpose and the meaning behind things.
Yeah.
So that is where we started Timeless. That is the business we run, that is the brand that we're building, that's the t-shirts that we're wearing. So, do you want to take them through our journey? Just briefly, quickly, how we kind of got to where we are today?
Yeah, so everything just happened so fast, obviously. Literally a week after Marbella, this business has been started and we was like, okay. I've obviously left my remote sales role as well, so no income's being made. Same for you, so we're kind of in this state of urgency. It's like, okay, let's start making some money and start signing some clients. So that was our first thing. We built our offer in a few days, and then we just got straight to doing outreach and posting content. And we were doing this for a month. We changed our scripts every other day. We were trying new content formats. And I think the one that worked most, which is a little bit sneaky, so at the time we had this messaging of helping freelancers, and obviously the place that freelancers hang out is Upwork. So the way that we kind of got our first few clients was actually making an Upwork account and saying that we were kind of like hiring freelancers and then sort of first pitching them.
It worked. I think we got 2 or 3 high-paying clients.
That was the first kind of 3 clients that we signed, and then we got banned. No surprise. So yeah, that all happened in, I'd say, the first 3 months, and that was when I was like, okay, this is possible. Like, these are my clients. I now have this responsibility to help these people, and this is my business.
That's what you was kind of lacking when you was in sales, right?
It was that purpose, like my own thing, and having that responsibility. I think the responsibility is a privilege, where clients rely on you to help solve their problems. Also, the responsibility where it's helping my family and also thinking more about my future and the goals for myself. That's really what I was missing, working for someone else, and what I found through that.
Yeah. And then come December 2025. This is where the business went to shit. We pretty much hated our lives and realized that we were doing something that we didn't want to do. We just did it because we set out with this goal of, 10k per month, £10,000 between us both. Or what was it? Did we think we was gonna make 20 in the first couple months?
Yeah, it was 20.
Yeah. So
10
10 each. Anyway, we set out that goal purely for money, leaving everything behind. Like, let's just help these people get paid, etc. And then come December, where Christmas is going on, things are slowing down, and everything broke basically because there was no reason for me to carry on. I had made the money that I was wishing for the 2 years previous where I was failing all these things, and I felt like it wasn't working. We finally made that money, and then nothing changed. I didn't feel any happier. I just could, get a coffee, which was nice. Don't get me wrong, it's good to have money. But over the course of the December, we slowly started to kind of just walk away from the business. We kind of just took time to not work 86 hours a week. And in doing that, I think this is where I came to the realization. And I started to do things that I would have done when I was a kid. I used to be a big designer. I just love creative stuff. So I basically started, designing logos and coming up with all this creative stuff. And still something was missing, a purpose behind all these designs. I believe that the best way to do something, anything, whether it's making decisions, whether it's creating a business, start with why. Because then everything that comes afterwards makes sense. And I kind of took that framework. I'm not sure how I even did it at the time, but I kind of took that framework and realized what my life had been for the past 4 or 5 months. We made all this money and I didn't feel any different. And that's where the word came into my mind. The mission isn't finished. Okay. I had something, it clicked, I didn't know why. Time goes on, I'm just talking about a couple of days here. And I came up with this phrase that kind of, what the philosophy is behind it is that the pursuit of the goal was so much better. We was trying all these things, and I remember we got our first client, had no idea what we was doing, by the way. He paid us £3,000, and we had no idea what we was doing. We just figured it the fuck out on the spot. And that was the most fun I've ever had in my life. So this idea of an unfinished mission, it's on the back of our t-shirts, we're wearing it, and that is the North Star of our brand. Understanding that it's okay. The goal will come if you keep obviously trying to achieve it, put in the reps. But it's fine. This is the part in trying to achieve the goal. That's the most fun you're ever gonna have. So that's the North Star for our brand. And this is where we started to realize that this is what we're building. It was helping these freelancers turn into business owners, but something was missing. We mentally changed over the course of the past couple of years. We had to put that inside our delivery because this would help them make more money. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and with the unfinished mission, this was obviously something that we kind of figured out for ourselves and then wanted to give to our clients because, at least through our own stories, the hardest thing for us was actually, especially when we were younger, the kind of like point A version, right, that we want to help is actually finding that direction, finding that thing, because there's so many different business models, so many different things that you can do, and it's like, I want to do this for this reason, I want to do that for that reason. And I always, and I know you did as well, struggle to kind of find that one thing, which is why it's so common to kind of change business models. So the way that we did that with the unfinished mission was going back to who we were as a kid and our actual past experiences, like what did we enjoy then, what were we good at, and then just our whole journey up until where we are now to actually figure out what we want to do in the future. Like even the things before we were in high school and those kind of experiences, the things that you did before you started to care about what other people think of you or what the pressures of society essentially. And once we kind of came up with that, our whole business changed, and especially the type of person we wanted to help, because previously we were this generic business where it's like, oh, freelancers will help you to get to 5K a month, whatever, sign your first client, right? And one thing that I've always hated is having a label on me, right? I don't want to identify just as a coach or just as a consultant or just as an info product seller, because I know that I'm so much more than that. I don't want to kind of identify this label. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see these ads of like marketing agency owners making 5 to 10K a month, pay me out, and then it's this ad, I never really identified with that. So we kind of used our unfinished mission to draw back on who we actually wanted to help, and that's where we came up with the outsiders. And I want to explain what that means. So we defined an outsider as someone who takes action on being themselves, because everyone is different, right? But the thing that separates the leaders, the ones who people look up to in society, is that they were themselves, right? They were one of one, just like your brand, Seth, but they took action on that. So many people And it's easy to, right? Because I feel like maybe we've all done it at some point where we kind of follow the crowd and
Ended up on a bus.
yeah, and yeah, just taking action on being yourself. And once you step out of society in a way, or just the system in the traditional path, you're now on your own, and you don't know what to do. When a problem comes up, you have to figure that out on your own, because you don't have the money to invest in help, or you don't know who can help you. So you're on your own, you have to figure those things out on your own. And that's when we realised that is what we want to do. That is the person that we want to help. They're not a freelancer, they're not a service provider, they are an outsider. They've took the step to go on this path, and now they have all these different problems that we've been through that we know exactly how to solve. And that's where the mission really started to change for us. And we started to actually have a bit more purpose behind the business that we're building. There's one thing that we have, which is direction over information, and another one as well, which is you don't have to love what you do, but the reason why you do it, right? So maybe there's a few people in here where, you know, your service providers, you don't necessarily love running ads if you run ads for businesses, but the knowledge, the skills, the experiences, and the money that brings for you allows you to do the things that you want to do. And maybe it's just a vehicle for you in 5 years to do something that you're more passionate about, right? And we want to be those people. That's kind of like our purpose, our kind of mission now. So
Yeah, so just to almost wrap this segment up, we've told you who we are, where we came from, we've told you how we kind of got here. We want to talk to you about where we're going, because me personally, if I tell you where I'm going and I watch this back, I'll be like, okay, maybe I'm chatting shit. But basically, I'm just doing this to kind of tell you the direction of where we want to go with this. We've been through so many different realizations over the past almost year of working with each other, and every month is a new obstacle that we have to overcome. So slowly, all these different beliefs and challenges, we took them as lessons. You know, the reason why I have the shirt on and it says that at the back, the unfinished mission, is because I took that story, that journey, and put it into a lesson, something that I learned, no one else can copy, right? So that's when we decided to deliver what we do in a community, exactly like this. Bring people together. Instead of helping people one-on-one, we help people together. Basically, our purpose and our mission is to help the outsiders build a business that allows them to provide for their family and travel the world. That's what we do. That is our mission, and we're going to do that in every single way possible. And this talk is even us fulfilling that mission, because I'm able to explain to you guys exactly what we do.